Do you know what does it mean? Hey everyone, welcome back to YouTube Expeditions, where we confront fear to find the truth. And we're going back to a little bit into our roots for this video, I guess, because we're not looking up a series or a channel this time. We're looking up something that doesn't have much attached to it except for a legend and some mythology and some theology, I guess. So for this video, we'll be looking at real 6 demon voices from the exorcism of Anneliese Michel. Now, although I've never seen this video before, I actually do know something about this case of demonic possession. And I'm going to get into that after we see the video, because I'm actually interested in this part, because I didn't know there were actually multiple voices that were recorded, because I never heard of this for some reason. So I think we're in for a treat for this one, because of the fact that this was a recorded case of alleged demonic possession, I mean. And these cases always interest me enormously, considering I grew up under Christianity. So without further ado, let's get to the video. She was possessed by not just one demon, but she was possessed by 6 demons. I never would have guessed that, considering you know, the video is called Real 6 Demon Voices. The 6 demons that possessed Anneliese Michel are Hitler, Cain, Nero, Fleischmann, Judas, and Lucifer. Okay, there's a problem here. About 4 or 5 of these are not demons. These were people that actually existed. I always find it interesting that in these cases of demonic possession, there are always famous people who died, or famous demons. It's never like I don't know, like Osmodeus or Belphegor or what's another famous demon? I'm trying to remember the ones I learned about in like the Lesser Key of Solomon, but it's never those demons. It's always famous horrible people and the devil or Belial or like Dagon or something. It's never lesser known ones. It's always the ones that are mentioned in the Bible, but never the lesser known ones like Bob or Joe. Okay, so this is what she normally sounds like. Let's hear the real audio of the 60s. Oh! Okay. Okay. Now, okay, there's something wrong here. This doesn't sound anything like Hitler at all. I mean, it's definitely very yelly, but this doesn't sound like him. Cain, the first murderer. I mean, these voices don't sound all that distinct. They all sound kind of the same, just slightly more or less raspier, or like, it's not impossible to do this with your voice. Okay, this sounds like you have like somebody's like throwing up, basically. I'm sorry if I'm making fun of this, because is the picture moving? Oh yeah, it's panning up, okay. Yeah, alright, so this is Nero. I find it weird these are supposed to be 6 distinct demons, but they all sound exactly the same. They're not exactly, but they sound mostly the same. Fleischmann. I'm not sure who this is. Okay, now we're back to the barf sounds again. Like I said, I do have a lot of criticism for the Catholic Church regarding this kind of thing, because this sounds like a very serious case of something else rather than what they were saying it was. Okay, I take it this is supposed to be the devil. Because it didn't have the name on here. Like the name was like just off screen. And this is Lucifer. Okay, so this is the devil himself. Wow, the devil sounds a lot like Hitler. And Fleischmann and Cain and whoever else in Nero. Basically, they sound exactly the same. Every single one of them. Okay then. So, I'm sorry about not reacting the way you think, because this isn't that scary to me. Honestly enough, this is not as scary as anything else I've done somehow, because I have an idea of what this is already, but I've never heard this recording before. Alright, so I'm going to go find the information on this so I can actually show you what I'm talking about. So I'll be back in a sec. Now, I'm going to explain to you my issues with this case and why it is actually something worse than what we saw here. Because of the fact that the thing about this is that this was not a case of demonic possession, at least not the way I'm seeing it. I mean, very clearly. Because of the fact that Anneliese Michel, she had suffered from temporal lobe epilepsy, and I also experienced seizures. She was also diagnosed with psychosis along with the temporal lobe epilepsy. Her family was because she also had these issues and showed aversion to religious iconography. She was convinced, along with her parents, that she was possessed by a demon. And the reason why I'm assuming why she figured that this must be the case was probably because of the fact that she did grow up in a Roman Catholic household, where the stories of demonic possession would come up in the Bible, in the New Testament, along with descriptions basically matching those of people with epilepsy or with psychological disorders. And the thing about it is, they had taken her for psychiatric treatment. While she was in the hospital, she was prescribed drugs and went through treatment for various psychoses, including schizophrenia. She also was experiencing delusions of hearing voices telling her she was damned and was going to rot in hell. Her condition did not improve within the mental hospital, and she became very intolerant of Christian sacred places and objects such as the crucifix. So eventually she went to San Damiano with a family friend who regularly organized Christian pilgrimages, and she was the one who actually told her she was suffering from demonic possession. That's right. Her family friend was the one who was responsible for this, because she was the one who tried to convince her that this was definitely the case. Eventually, the Catholic Church did get involved and did agree to perform an exorcism on Anneliese. And the problem with this is that it didn't help anything. It actually made the situation worse. In September of 1975, Bishop Joseph Strong granted the priest Arnold Renz permission to exorcise according to the Ritual Romanum of 1614, but ordered total secrecy. Renz performed the first session on September 24th, and Michel began talking increasingly about dying to atone for the wayward youth of the day and the apostate priests of the modern church, and she refused to eat towards the end. At this point, her parents stopped consulting doctors and on her request and relied solely on the exorcism rites. 6-7 exorcism sessions, one or two each week, lasting up to 4 hours, were performed over about 10 months. And as expected, this did absolutely nothing, because on July 1st, 1776, Anneliese Michel died in her home. Autopsy reports stated the cause of death was malnutrition and dehydration due to being in a semi-starvation state for almost a year while the rites of exorcism were performed. She died weighing 68 pounds, had broken knees due to continuous general infection, and was unable to move without assistance. The priests were put on trial for negligent homicide due to the fact that they were the ones that were performing the exorcism and were responsible and were essentially irresponsible in making sure she was taken care of. And that's why I have so much of an issue with this case, because of the fact that this was a case of somebody suffering from a severe mental disorder, and they very clearly didn't even bother trying to do anything else besides what they did. They were convinced. I mean, I can understand that they did take her to a mental hospital, and that the treatment wasn't working. But at the same time, going to the Catholic Church didn't help anything. It actually made it worse, and she died because of it. The thing about it is, because she grew up in a Christian household, it's not hard for her, it wouldn't be that difficult or such a stretch for her to believe that she was possessed by demons because of the description of, like I said, demon possession in the Bible. It's not such a stretch that somebody would think that, particularly if you grew up in a religious household, where these stories were repeated over and over again. So, and I'm trying to analyze the video, but to me the voices all sound pretty much the same, considering that she was being treated for multiple psychosis, some psychotic disorders like schizophrenia. It's not too far off that this was just a psychotic episode, and due to the primitive nature of mental health facilities at the time, they couldn't actively figure out a way to treat her appropriately. And I mean, considering the way the family was, I mean, I can see why they didn't know what was going on, so they turned to the church to help, and the church didn't know how to help beyond this, and it just made everything worse. But in my opinion, I don't think she was, and basically what I'm saying is that I don't think she was possessed. I would say that she was suffering from a psychotic episode, and, well, they couldn't, and they just didn't help. I'm sorry for this video being such a downer, because this video just seemed interesting, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the case itself, because it's something that always interests me when I talk about demonic possession with other people. They say, oh, this one is real, and I'm like, no, it's not. It definitely wasn't a real case of demonic possession. This was a case of somebody suffering from a psychological disorder who got murdered due to negligence. So with that, I'm going to end this video here, so be sure to check out my other videos, those Pricebox Productions videos, our channels Pricebox Gaming and Pricebox Reacts. Thanks for watching, and stay jamming, everyone.